Good afternoon. Welcome to today's edition of the Economic Forum Show with YUSUF. And today we are joined with our Professor ABASS Mohammed El-KHAMI Ali, in studio here at YUSUF TV. And today we are going to talk about jobless recovery. And basically, our core question is about are we stabilizing numbers or we are stabilizing lives? Stay tuned, like, share, and leave a comment. And also stay tuned for Professor Abbas's insightful discussion with us today. Prof, welcome to the show and welcome to Ghana.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to YUSUF TV, as always, for giving us the opportunity to discuss this all-important issue of economics.
Yeah. Professor, how is Ghana so far?
So far, so good. Yeah, it could be better, but alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Prof, well, we are going to talk about jobless recovery, and we are going to center our discussion on whether we are stabilizing numbers or we are stabilizing lives. When we talk about jobless recovery, what does it mean literally? What does it really mean for Ghana?
What it means is if we say we have stability or jobless recovery, then what you're trying to say is that we are looking at economic indicators that shows progress or stability, and the fact that in the process of doing economic recovery, the ones we're seeing, there's no jobs that is following that. So specifically what it means is that we have macro indicators that are showing improvement, like inflation, which is now by 11%, according to Bank of Ghana. We have forex stability. Cedi has appreciated to about 12 cedi to $1, which is a good thing. We have fiscal discipline. This government has shown that they can actually manage our expenses, and they're very diligent about it. But in the midst of all that, we are lacking one important thing, which is the job growth.
Okay.
So when we say we have a jobless recovery, what it means is that we have the economic data, which shows that there's progress. GDP is upward and has stayed upward since the last quarter of 2024. And this administration has moved it up a little bit. And then, like I said, inflation, forex is good. Fiscal discipline in terms of being very diligent about what really needs to be spent on. So we have all of that, but amidst all of that is one important variable, which is the unemployment. And if you should go to theoretical economic understanding, Okun's law will tell you that any economic growth, such as what we experience, should come with some job growth. But the job growth numbers are not really good. If you look at it, what we're looking at today is unemployment, youth unemployment about 32%. That's where I get worried about where are we going. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is this administration, we can give them a lot of time. And I'm glad that we are finally getting to what we've been talking about, where we are relooking our constitution to allow the government some time, all right, to execute some of these important programs. Because what we've gotten so far is the stability. Now we have to take it up a step further. So that is what this government is trying to do, and I hope that it can achieve that. But as it stands right now, unemployment is nothing to write home about at 32%. And even if you dig down further, when we talk about unemployment, we're only referring to unemployment that is in the books, meaning somebody who's actively looking for a job and couldn't find a job, right? But there is a lot of other, group of people that have been discouraged by the system, who have looked for a job for more than a year and they haven't gotten anything. So if somebody like that is not actively looking at the time of collecting the data according to Ghana Statistical Service, then that person cannot be included in the 32%. So to dig down further, we have what we call the NEET group, which is those not in education, not in employment, and not in any sort of training. So this one gives you a little deeper analysis of our unemployment data. And that is what is so far very weak. So about 13% of the youth unemployment that we have includes the NEET group of 13.1%, all right, which is quarter 4 of 2024. But right now, as we speak, it has jumped to 25.8%. Group of people who are not, or young men or women who are not in the employment category, who are not in education, and are not in any sort of training. So these people are just redundant. About 25.8, ages between 15 to 24, according to Ghana Statistical Service.
Wow.
So this is more telling if you even dig down into the 32%. So this is our jobless recovery. So far, that's where we are. So we're hoping that in the next few years, we're going to start taking activities that will, trigger the jobs to start, improving.
Thank you very much, Professor. Dear TV viewers, you can also contribute, join the discussion by leaving a comment at the comment section below. As today, Prof is sharing with us how we can actually make meaningful gains in terms of jobless recovery. Professor, how is the economy improving without necessarily improving livelihoods as it stands?
For the most part, yes, because like I said, it's too early in the new administration to expect something drastic, because most of our economic, data is always lagging, and any activities you take in a macroeconomic level will take time for it to penetrate into, what we expecting into jobs. So the economy is growing, all right, and GSS has estimated that GDP growth of 3.6 at the quarter of 2024, and now it's about 6.3. That is expected this year, about 5%. That's what this administration is telling us. But what we've seen is the growth that we're seeing, to really see why it's growing, but we're not feeling it, is to look at where is it growing. So when we look at where it's growing, is the services that is growing at 6.3. All right, followed by agriculture. All right, and the real industry that would trigger the employment is only growing at 0.2%, according to Ghana Statistical Service. So where we really need it to grow is not growing. Why? Because that requires capital expenditure, what we discussed the last time. The capex expenditure in the industries, manufacturing, all these agricultural value addition chain, all these activities are the ones that will trigger the jobs and infrastructure. So once infrastructure starts going, then we're going to see that the number will make sense. But right now, all we have is stability. So we just have the platform. It's like we've built the foundation. We're yet to take off. So that's what we have.
But Prof, looking at this in a broader perspective, who is benefiting from the so-called stabilization?
I would say it's our reputation or Ghana's image that's actually benefited right now. It looks good on paper. That the gains is mostly in the services industry. Because of our stability and outlook, it's usually the services industry that you're gonna see. And then, like I said, another area that this growth, so-called growth, is benefiting from is the information and communication, transport and storage. All these areas are where things are a little bit improving. But other than that, there's no significant gain as far as the common Ghanaian is concerned, because there's still a lot of youth unemployment. As you can see, everywhere you turn around is crowded in the major urban areas. So that is an indication of an economy that's really struggling.
But Prof, what about government initiatives and policies? So far, so good. Are government policies creating enough decent jobs? I think we saw some initiative with the YEA, and not even talk about the 24 hours economy. So looking at these two initiatives, are they creating enough decent jobs?
The initiative themselves are in the baby stages. They're still in the infant stages. So the short answer is not yet to a scale that we would have liked. Even the World Bank alluded to the fact that only 13% of our workers are actually in high quality, high paying jobs. That is as of 2023 when we looked at it. But what we've seen is most of the gains that we have right now in all the initiatives that you're talking about is in the low quality employment sector. which is about 53% of the working population in Ghana. So yes, we fill in the gaps, but we're not making any significant impact. All right. So we want high skilled jobs. So when the graduates, we have a lot of unemployment amongst the graduates, and the graduates who are working below their skill set. So it's underutilization of labor. All right, what we call underemployment. So until we resolve all of that, we're not going to see the true growth of the economy. All right, and if you even think about it deeper, you're going to see that most of the economy itself, majority of the jobs are in the informal sector, and they all low skilled. Informal sector. About 80% of our employment in Ghana is in the informal sector, only contributing about 27% of the GDP. So that is disappointing for the number of youth that we have in that group. All right. So as far as the programs that we have, they taking off right now. This is just the first year, so we wait to see the YEA programs, the Million Coders program, all other initiatives that the government had mentioned. Should he get the time to follow through on those programs, maybe we will see the true picture changing in the next few months.
Yeah, Professor, thank you very much. Now let's talk about how unemployment is affecting the youth in Ghana. How exactly would you, in your view, would you summarize how unemployment is affecting the youth?
So if you look at unemployment of 32%, that's like 7 in 10 youth are unemployed. So that's deeper than you think. So if you break the 32% down to saying that if you look at young men or young men and women, of every 10 that you pick, 7 are unemployed. That's how deep the problem is. So if you can look at that and start looking at the percent and look at the human cost of somebody possibly graduating, because I see a lot of more graduates than even the ones that are not graduates, right? And then you can look at, the ones that have JSS, education, SSS. So anywhere between 24, all right, 19 to 24, you're going to see that you have 7 out of 10 unemployed. And that is deeper than anything you can think of. So that is, I feel like that's an asset that we haven't utilized. All right, because these people have the energy, age is on their side for them to do something for the economy. And there's so many problems around us that we can put these guys to help with the solution in terms of even if it's pure labor or even, human capital that it can actually help with the understanding, the skill set, the training. So all of these things can be, all the issues that we have, if we should leverage all these numbers, we can solve these issues ourselves. All right. So it's really more disturbing to pick any 10 group of men and women and say about 7 are unemployed. That is serious.
Yeah. Prof, thank you very much. Dear cherished viewers, you are watching us live on the Economic Forum show. Today we are joined with Professor Abbas, and we are talking about how are we stabilizing numbers or we are stabilizing lives. Basically about the jobless recovery. Prof, what about macroeconomic stability? Can macroeconomic stability exist without job security?
Without job security, that's what we have right now. Because we have the paper, the numbers on paper looks good, all right? Because what we have is economic growth, and only few sectors are actually giving us that growth. And the reason why it exists like that, the economic growth, if you think about it, is the purchases that we're making indicates that some businesses are doing well, all right, in the service industry, leading by the service industry. So that's where the growth is coming from. But the real growth that we really would have loved is that all our purchases is about 50% on locally made products. But if everything is imported, all our purchases, the revenue is going up.
Okay, so in this case, you are we should instead focus more on buying the made in Ghana
Yeah,
product.
if we make them. The question is, it's not so much about making the made in Ghana product. The question is, what do we have to make that the consumers of Ghana can buy at a decent price, at a quality that is competitive to what is coming inside from abroad, right? So until we take an industrial approach to import substitution, then we're not going to see the real growth, because the revenue that we're generating from all these transactions is going abroad as revenue for whoever is selling the product to us. All right. The gains, the little gains are to the importers. All right. So that is what is translating into the growth that we have. So if you think about it, if we're growing at 5% with the nature of our structure, or the structure of our economy the way it is right now, we're growing at 5%. Should we substitute some of the productivity or the products that's coming in, all right, even at 50%, that will put another 5% growth on the GDP. So you have about 10% growth instead of the 5. And that 10%, because of the multiplier effect of the good being done within, is going to keep the revenue within the shores of Ghana and reduce the unemployment. That's what the strategy is supposed to be, according to a real growth, a growth that's tied to unemployment reduction. So that is what we have right now. We have a growth of economy that is not tied to reduce unemployment. So we have the paper growth, all right, what I call the growth without jobs paradox.
Yeah.
So that is what we have, because if you look at the nature of our spending, or the things that we spend our money on, they're mostly the things that were made abroad. Because you can test it, you can do that experiment. Just step down there, a lot of trading going on. Other than maybe the agricultural products, everything you touch your hands on is made outside, mostly from China, India, or other places. So if those basics are made outside, so that means the revenue is going to whoever makes it.
Yeah.
So we just have to change the scenario. And what I'm saying is, we have human capital, we have graduates that are hungry, with energy to, learn these skills and produce some of these things that we consume on our streets, the things that we buy. So we can keep the gains within the economy. And that would translate into job opportunities for the business owner and the producer and whoever is in the value chain. And that is where real growth happens. And that's what we lack it right now. So it's a simple solution of thinking through the problem and realizing that the opportunities are within us, because we have the youth on our side. We have the number of the youth on our side. We just have to use it in the right way to translate that into a gain on the economy. So yes, you can have stability that will exist without job security. Even the Bank of Ghana, reports disinflation and external cost, sector improvement, inflation falling. All these things are good. As of June 2025, reserve is building, city is stable, all of that is happening, all right, under this economy, under this administration. So we have that stability, but with weak job numbers, 32% unemployment.
Yes. Yeah. But Prof, what sectors should be prioritized for job creations? I think we recently saw Burkina investing heavily in the agricultural sector. They're giving acres of lands to graduate agricultural students. In a way, they're creating jobs. So Ghana, in that situation, if we have a stable economic growth, what sector should also be prioritized to create more job opportunities for the graduates?
You can look at, in the context of stability, I would have looked at agriculture more closely. So, because the inflation that we're dealing with has multifaceted inflation. One of them having to do with our dependence on, foreign currency to bring the goods that we bring in. So that's one inflation right there.
Yeah.
The second one is the nature of the goods that we bring in, the fact that they import it. So if we can invest in agriculture industrialization a little bit and all the value chain that comes with anything you pick up, it could be tomato manufacturing or whatever you pick up, the value chain in that process, you would have created a lot of jobs. So that is number one area of where I expect this administration to hit hard on. They did mention that in the manifesto. You talk about the poultry project.
Yeah.
You talk about the palm
Yeah.
oil industry that they mentioned. All right, so that's areas that we can focus on to start because that's a quick gain. And then there's another area of absorption that we can think about, which is the services industry. That's for quick absorption in terms of trade, transport, and storage, and the ICT. So if we can look at all these areas, these two are the top ones. And then, of course, you can talk about all of this without talking about infrastructure spending.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to a young man, actually, a university student who was doing an internship as part of UDS program. And he told me his experience last year when he went to some village, I forgot the name. He was placed there and he saw a lot of opportunities and he was worried, asking me, why is our country not looking at these opportunities where in that village he went, they produced tomatoes somewhere in Bono.
Okay.
All right. They produce tomatoes, but the roads are so bad that they can't get to the market. And then the only factory that they have made by the chief of tomato manufacturing has broken down and he couldn't get it back up. So now he's not able to process the tomatoes. And they produce tomatoes that would never see the market because the roads are bad. So he was like, this is a simple solution. Why can't just the government give them the roads and then they can get the product even if they don't build the factory back for them?
Yeah.
And then he mentioned other products that that village has. He said they're very active. He was talking about how active the people are in terms of going to work, but they produce all these things and they can't get to the market. So we can talk about construction enough in terms of strategically linking, because we have to prioritize when it comes to road construction. Is it the agricultural, roads to the market, our phase one project, other than the highways? All right. So we have to, classify based on priorities on which roads do we have to tackle. If agriculture is going to be our thing, then we have to understand agricultural, building factories and all of that is not going to cut it until there are roads to transport all these products, whether they are at the finished stage or even at the primary level, to get it to the market for immediate consumption or to process it and sell it abroad. You still need the road network to connect it to the city, to where the ABASS and ports and ABASS, all of that. So that is very important. So these are the areas. And you can see that they all intertwine, because in doing so, you have to address the issue of manufacturing. So these are how we can prioritize. So food products, garments, there were textile conversation that this administration brought up. So like I mentioned the last time, identifying the solutions is not so hard, because the problems are so enormous, right? In terms of how we're going to get there. So everybody can easily identify those solutions, but the problem is the execution.
Yeah. Prof, we have some questions on the show so far. For those watching us live on Facebook, thank you very much. You can also leave a comment at the comment section. First of all, we have Jamal Adam watching us from Italy. He says, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Anas Emi watching us from the United States also said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for your comment. And Jamal Adam says, Mashallah, my question is, the previous government stopped servicing its foreign debt from 2022 to 2024. Fast forward, the new government is servicing its debt. The CD is relatively stable. Is the government doing something right?
Of course, yes. You can't deny that fact. He's doing a lot right for the moment, right? So because the debt to GDP ratio has been brought to about 60 and they're targeting about 50%.
Yeah.
So we're servicing the debt. We brought it from 85 to what it is right now to about 60, and we're going to take it down to 50. So that's a good stage. That's why I said we're doing everything right, because whoever would have been here with the intention of doing the right thing would have done the same thing they do. If you really mean well, you need this platform, you need this stability to be able to move to the next phase. So the next phase is what we're going to see in 2026. That's where the real projects are going to take off, such as the expressway, Kumasi Accra expressway that he mentioned. They activated the one that they did, is it in Tema? All right. So they activated that, and then they're going to pursue this one. So the government is doing a lot of things right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to job growth, all right, is the one I'm waiting for. I want to see the industries coming up. All right. I want to see the activation of, the poultry project. All right. All those things that they mentioned. Like I said, we don't have to go anywhere to find programs to fund. They just have to fund what they have, even on their paper. If we can execute about 50%, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
So the government is doing a lot of things right. Yes. City is stable, not because of miracle, partially because of international conditions favoring us, all right? But particularly because the government has also made it an agenda to make sure that they will keep it stable, all right, at the levels that they are. Yes, they use the revenue from, foreign reserves to hold it, but it's sometimes necessary for where we came from. But I know and I heard that the Bank of Ghana governor has mentioned that it's not going to be something that they will continue to do, because that approach is never sustainable. So they walk away from that, which means our foreign reserves will have to be pushed somewhere where it will mean a lot more, which is what we call the multiplier effect activities, such as what we're talking about in agriculture. Yes.
Yeah. Prof, initially you did mention that most of the jobs will have to come from the private sector.
Right.
So are SMEs getting the support they need to employ more people as it stands?
As it stands, there's still a lot of constraints, right? Because even according to the World Bank reports, I always have to go to World Bank because that's the only report we have other than Ghana Statistical Service. I wish in the future this administration will lead us into getting our own data a different way, something that's more robust than the World Bank. But World Bank, indicates that we still have issues with domestic credit to private sector, way below the levels that we anticipate, which is about 10% of GDP. As it stands right now, we have high borrowing costs for SMEs and regulatory frictions that is limiting growth from SMEs. And if you look at it, you can also look at the number I gave you, where 80% of the jobs is in the informal sector. So that's your SMEs. But they only contributing 20%, 27% to the GDP.
Okay.
80%. And 20% of the formal sector is contributing more than 50% of our GDP growth. So there's imbalance. Why would 80 contribute less? It's because we haven't been able to formalize and incentivize the informal sector to get into the tax net and help them with training that will make, that will bring real value to the economy. Because what we have is we have a lot of skills that is underutilized on that sector. You have somebody who's a graduate selling phone cases.
Or doing mobile money.
Or driving these motorbikes. So that's underutilization of skills. And that's the kind of employment that we're talking about, 80%. So if we can change that into high value activity, that will give us more economic growth. Like I said, if we're growing at 5% right now, we can easily make it 10%. If we can change the narrative, but we have to be willing to support that. I mentioned what I told you the last time in the US example of the Small Business Administration, where the government guarantees the funding for small businesses to take money from the bank. And they have the lowest interest rate. So why can we do that? You are the government. you have the resource. At least we have revenue coming. Everybody now know we're rich, right?
Yeah.
Every Ghanaian know that gold border has exposed something we never knew, that we this much rich.
Yeah.
Right? So if we this much rich and we really want to solve this problem, why don't we guarantee by the reserves to the banks to allow these small businesses, these young men and women selling cell phones, to go into high value activity, maybe open a poultry farm. Why are we selling cell phones? This guy has a degree. He's more smarter than what he's doing. Challenge the brain to be creative. Put him in training. Fund him. Guarantee the money so the man can let the money go. Determine the interest rate at less than 5%. And see if these guys don't get off the street. Our cities are crowded. Urban unemployment is way higher than rural unemployment. 19% urban unemployment. Rural 10%. Everybody is going into the city to crowd the city. You can't drive anywhere. Kumasi, Accra, it's like a nightmare. Why is everybody coming to the city? These guys could stay back in the village if there are banks that will give them money to start something.
Yeah.
And then build a road so they could bring their products, whatever they make, to the market to sell them. All right, we have to be strategic, but we got to be willing to spend money on the problem. It's not the government hiring everybody. That's not the way it works. 80% is already in the informal sector. Incentivize it. We have Ghana card to leverage, for God's sake. We can identify everyone. Where is that person going to go? If he's in your program, training program, you tie the training program to funding, and then you guarantee the bank, whoever signs up with the government program of funding small businesses will get a guarantee from the government that they will pay the loan if there is default. And this, whoever is taking the money will lose the opportunity to get continuous funding for expansion if they don't pay back on time. And they're not going anywhere because we know them by Ghana card who started what business.
Yeah.
So we can easily translate this into an opportunity where we will capture every single one on the street. And that alone, in overnight, you would just change the narrative from unemployment to like less than a single digit.
Yeah.
Because you have 80% there already. Just formalize them. Incentivize them. Give them copy what Rwanda did. Tie it to a reward.
Someone was even talking about skill training. And
that's why skill training is mandatory for government funding. You have to go into the program before you're eligible to be funded by government guarantee at lower than 5%. It's our money. What is 5% on a business that's taking 20,000 Ghana cedi? Nothing. So that person gets the space to grow the business, and he's being trained and guided to understanding what business is. Because it's different from getting a regular education and running a business. That's a whole different proposal. So the person needs to be guided to understand what profitability even means. When do you call something profit? In real world, not the books. All right. So we can do all of this strategically, and the government should be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, Prof, you have an interesting question here. Jamal Adam, thank you very much for your comment. He's been a real contributor to the show so far. He says, is Prof interested to enter into politics?
At this point, I haven't made my mind. I just want to be able to contribute. But as a citizen, you can never say no to, helping your nation. And I'm doing my little bit here. But we'll see what the future holds. But whatever the service calls, inshallah, we will let God decide that for us.
Okay, inshallah. And Anas Emiyari also has a comment. He says, as at now, what the NDC government is doing, can we certainly say they are setting up a legacy? Because it's been really a while since when Ghanaians have witnessed a positive impact on the economy. We were never expected to see this performance so soon. Anas Emiyari is talking about the pace at which the NDC government is giving us results in terms of the economy. Prof, what do you have to say? Is asking us, is this a legacy that they are setting up for themselves, or?
On the legacy part, I would say not yet. Let's wait. Yes, the looks good. The excitement is good. We all happy that we've seen a new you know, leave. If you look at where we came from the previous administration, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that we've seen a government that's determined. And I have my ears on the ground about even the attitude of our leaders, the fact that some of them work until 9 p.m. at night. That is talking about the Minister of Finance, and I'm impressed with that. Like, very close source indicates that this guy works until late in the night. So that these are guys that are willing to do something, right? But like I said, it's stability right now. We haven't built anything.
Yeah.
All right. So legacy will be okay. They did something that will even give us even greater results, because the narrative in that they will get there. Like I said, they just have to do their programs and even just execute 50% of their programs. That will be a legacy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a comment from Jamal Adam. He says that this is the reason why Yanum don't want to hear anything about the third term of JDM. Okay. There was a recent review by the committee of, I think, Constitutional Review Committee or something.
Yeah.
They were given a proposal to extend the 4-year limit term to 5-year limit term.
Yes, sir.
But Jamal Adams says that the reason why the opposition party MPP do not want to hear anything about the third term of JDM is because of the legacy the NDC is building. Yeah, this is your opinion, and thank you very much. You can also continue to leave a comment at the comment section below. Jamal Adams says that please a little explanation on what is the Cookiesburg economy.
Okay, that's interesting. So that is a different sort of administration that we have in the past, where you know, institution was paramount. All right. So if you look at the history of any economic growth, we talk about institution leading, and that is something I alluded to if you when we discuss the real growth, and then I even tied to an MOHAMMED approach. So that is a system where institution will be like the right approach to understanding you know, success.
Yeah.
So what we have so far is you know, a little bit of that here and there, discipline and stuff like that. But we need that to translate into a better system of, you know, institutionalizing our approach to having a sustained economic growth. And that is the next level. So if you look at it, we are making like a little baby steps towards achieving such a situation where we have, you know, we're reviewing the constitution. All right, in order to arrive at, that's my hope, that the constitutional review will continue even after this administration.
Yeah.
To translate into a point where we can have some kind of economic, you know, independence as far as growth is concerned, and the people that guide our economy, irrespective of the political structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your comment. Anas Emiyari also has a comment for us. It says, I have never thought things can turn around in governance within a shortest time like this NDC government did. Many have come for 8 years. They couldn't do what they are doing. I understand it's too early to give credit. We need to keep our fingers crossed and pray for the best.
Yes.
Ghanaians deserve better.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anas Emiyari. This is a really positive comment. I will really appreciate your contribution to the show. Professor, back to our discussion. How long can the citizens survive on positive indicators alone?
How long? Not long if the labor inclusion is lagging, right? Because whatever it is that we are talking about right now, some of us even thinking it's a legacy, will mean nothing if the person on the street is still on the street and doesn't get a job.
Yeah.
All right. Right now, we all have optimism. That's what we're basing on. that we see good signs. Everybody is excited. Everybody is praying and wishing that it will translate into something better, meaning youth unemployment will go down, where the graduates will finally settle on a job. All right. But if that doesn't happen, after all these so-called, positive feeling, then it becomes a disappointing situation.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever they're doing right now, if they don't use it to leverage that into a real growth, which means real growth is job growth, then we are not enjoying, it will be disappointing.
Yeah.
Because that is how long it would take for us to actually think that, okay, this is good. On the street, we expect that to reflect on the street. So we're waiting for that.
Yeah. Professor, earlier when you mentioned something about how we're not really using the skills of the graduates, someone might be really trained in, let's say, pharmaceutical science and be doing mobile money on the street.
Right.
So is underemployment being ignored in economic report? Because we barely hear our politicians or the authorities say something about underemployment within the system.
Because it's not a good number for the politics. So they wouldn't talk about it. That's why these programs are there to, talk about the real numbers. Okay? Because by nature of our politics, you always want to show a number that is in your favor. But as citizens and as a media, what you guys are doing is what we need. We need to tell truth amongst ourselves so the powers can know that we are aware of the real situation, even though everybody sees it on the street. You don't have to go far to see it.
Yeah.
Just ask the guys on the street, get in a conversation with them. Some of them will tell you they graduate, they this, they that, and this is the job they do.
Yeah.
So you can run away from it. So they won't, it's not something that is positive for us to, be happy about. So we don't say it. That's the politics. But the economics is the fact that we have to speak to these numbers. That is human lives behind this number, where labor is underutilized. All right. So we have to be able to talk about that. About 19.3% underutilization of labor in the last quarter of 2024. All right. So 19% of the youth are there underutilized. All right. So you have a lot of numbers out there that is more telling than what we celebrate in inflation, forex stability and GDP growth.
Yeah.
So yes, we can celebrate that because that's a great achievement from, the numbers that we left behind. But we can also run away from that and ignore the fact that on our streets, the story is different.
Yeah. There's a comment from Jamal Adam. Jamal Adam, thank you very much for your contribution so far. He's asking that, Prof, what are your thoughts on the gold board?
It's a very good initiative. You can't go wrong with what they've done. All right, in terms of ensuring that we have fair pricing on the gold that we sell outside. And that has translated into the forex that we get in extra more money, billions of dollars. All right, since they took over, about 8 billion, I think, came in. So that's more than you can ever imagine, right? So that's where the excitement is. That's why I said this administration have a lot going on for them. They just don't have to, rest on their shoulders and think that they've achieved anything. We have to translate that into proper gains. There's no gain. It's just money coming in, but we don't see it. Our roads are still what it is. Our conditions in the village are still what it is. There's no roads to market. Yes. There's no industrialization. Tomatoes are being thrown out after harvesting it. So these are serious problems that we have.
Yeah.
So getting the money in from Gold Board is fantastic. There's nothing, you can say negative about that, except that it's a very excellent thought and process. That's why I said Ghanaians are smart. When we come together to figure things out, we can figure it out. And what is lacking is execution. So we see a government that's executing on some stuff. But what I'm saying is the long-term value addition activities, multiply effect activities are yet to gain grounds. So that is where the next focus is going to be.
Okay. Prof, there's something might be a little bit conflicting here for, for our viewers. If the gold board is able to generate this much revenue, then why are we taking loans from the IMF?
Because we already signed the loan. And the government, I believe, is not going to go for any extended loan credit anymore. We bringing in 8 million in a year, 8 billion in a year. And the loan that we signed, the facility is 4 billion. So what kind of math is that? It doesn't make any sense for us to even play the IMF game. So as soon as we finish this, I don't think we ever go back. I don't expect this administration to go back because I trust that they can see the numbers don't add up. Why would I generate on my own $8 billion
with the gold board?
With the gold board. And then I'll go and loan 4 billion. It does. I have to loan 100 billion if I want. That's why I said the problems can be solved if we want, because now we have what it takes to even seek for more funding of all the projects that we have. Because we've shown that we can bring in money. And guess what? Not only are we bringing in the 8 billion, we have a resource in gold, which will back up any money we can source. Even through digitalization, I'm happy that digital asset, cryptocurrency, and all these have been approved by the Bank of Ghana that now is legal.
Yeah.
So now it's time for us to activate gold coin, whatever we want to call it. Ghana's gold coin. Sell it in the crypto market, backed by the forex reserve, gold reserves that we have.
Yeah.
Backed it by it. Take the money from people and let's fund these programs. So if we really want to solve this problem, money is never an issue for Ghana. Money shouldn't be an issue. We are rich. We have the potential. And I'm telling you, our GDP, the value of our GDP is not what they're telling us. What they're telling us, the 67 billion, is a joke. You telling me that Elon Musk is richer than Ghana? What kind of nonsense is that? And we're gonna accept it? No. We are richer than any single individual because we have all these reserves.
Yeah.
And Gold Board has shown that if we have discipline and good leadership, we can monetize it better. So we can do that for any other resource we have, including oil. Look at the nature of our oil. How much do we get in oil? Bad contracts. We're not getting anything. So if this government can phase out all these contracts that are so bad for us and turn it around, we'll be $1 trillion economy.
Just like they did the gold board.
Excellent. We will turn the country around into $1 trillion economy. No single individual should be richer than Ghana. And I don't accept it that Elon Musk is richer than Ghana. How?
Yeah. And we have the questions coming in. Jamal Adam says that, is the government doing the right thing of pumping billions into the economy to stabilize the city?
Yeah, for now, I think it's necessary because we can't make it any worse than what it is.
Yeah.
You know, we have to give market the stability, the know-how. Yes, it's not good for some of us abroad when we bring in money, but we're just a minute little part of the economy. We have to look at the bigger picture. How is the business going to continue to bring in goods when the price is not stable for foreign reserves, foreign currency?
Yeah.
So now we've given them the stability at 11 or 12 years. That's normal. So now plan your business, and we're going to hold it like that at that point for the next few years until we get things out of going. So now we don't have to pump so much. We can use the money to start industrialization. And once the industry picks up, the government will withdraw his support for the forex. Because that's the strategy. Because pumping money is not sustainable, but it's good for a short term. Because the reason why the government has to go in is because we are not an international currency. The international currency is dollars. You need dollars whether you like it or not. So it's either you sell something and bring in the money, which is why we have to industrialize. So instead of the government putting in money, we will produce something, sell it abroad, get the dollars coming in, and then the government don't have to intervene. The government would then pull out. So as we are intervening right now, the government needs to industrialize. to be able to sell finished products on the other side and replace his involvement in the forex market by the money naturally coming in from an economic activity.
Yeah.
Because putting money in the forex is not an economic activity. So we need the industry to come up to bring us the money, and the government can withdraw. We could use the money for something else.
Exactly. Professor, back to our topic of discussion. Earlier on, we said that the unemployment, or should I say the revenue from the private sector, which constitutes 80% of the employment, is far less than the former sector. Now, are we in a problem or in a bubble whereby the economy is too urban centered? Because we have an issue of rural urban migration in this country. So is our economic growth too urban centered?
Yes, it is. Everything is between the two major cities of Kumasi and Accra and other urban areas. Wherever you go, any region, you're gonna see that the concentration of the urban areas are really, like greater. And like I said, unemployment in the urban areas, because everybody is migrating, is 19% compared to the 10% in the rural areas. So that means everybody is moving. So labor market pressure is clearly urban skewed, where urban unemployment, like I said, some numbers has put it about 15.9%, some 19%, and rural is about 10.5%. So it's always growing at a faster rate. If you look on your street, if you can reverse your mind 5 years ago, you see that this place was not as crowded as it is. And most of the people that are on the street here are the ones that came from somewhere. All right. It's not like naturally the urban population is growing by birth. It's just migration that's making it grow. So that is what is happening. And what we're saying is that in order to diffuse that, you grow the rural areas so they could go back and do the activities that they know they can do, like the agriculture, the other sectors, services sector, all these things, instead of everybody trying to center everything in Accra. And the government should take a lead in decentralizing some of the activities that they do, even offices, moving them into the areas, the urban areas where there is space. Let's learn the habit of understanding that Ghana is bigger than just Accra and Kumasi, where everything is concentrated. Why can't I just, instead of going in Accra, go right here in Techiman and get a service of whatever government offices, or even in Kumasi, we haven't even leveraged the ones we have, but everything is
so we should have branches of the government offices.
Yes, we have to decentralize it. That's a strategy of economic growth itself. All right, that's a different topic. But what I'm saying is that the government can diffuse the concentration of, youth into the urban centers by moving some of the services away from the two major cities.
Prof, will it be a smart thing for the government to sort of build these industries or manufacturing companies in the northern part to avoid or to prevent those rural urban migration? Is it possible?
No, you have to be strategic. You have to ask yourself, what do they have? What are they producing? So the manufacturing company has to tie to what they are locally endowed, raw materials that they locally endowed to produce. So you can give them the value addition manufacturing opportunities there. So it will be more cost effective. You just don't want to simply take tomato manufacturing to Tamale simply because you just want to decentralize everything. No, that's not how you do it, because then you're causing a lot of friction. Because if the raw material is produced in the Ashanti and the eastern regions, or even in the Bono regions, you don't just push it to the north. That's too much of a travel for when the product is produced. So you just have to look at what they have to offer. They have their own products. All right, in the like the millet and stuff like that. All those products that they have, how many manufacturing do we have for that? So that's the question you have to do, and then you can then discourage the migration into the cities.
Prof, how do we make the agricultural more attractive? Because what is happening now is the energetic among the active population in the northern part are heavily migrating to the southern part of Ghana. So how do we make the agriculture attractive so we can keep them? to avoid them from seeking non-realistic jobs. They come here, most are homeless, and they work and far beyond what they are supposed to
Minimum
get,
wage,
the
yeah.
minimum wage. So how do we make the agricultural sort of attractive for them to do it there in the northern parts rather than pushing them down here?
Is to invest in it, make it more attractive by investing, make funding available, training available. Because if somebody is a graduate from the north and knows that there is funding for an agricultural activity, should he decides to go into agricultural entrepreneurship. So when we say agriculture, agriculture has so many levels in the value chain that it's not all like direct production day one. Somebody can be on the business side of things. Somebody can be the ones that really understand the products. If his major is in agriculture or he has some experience from family and he wants to, become a businessman. There's so many levels. But each of those levels, the government needs to be with them.
Okay.
So, when you go into agriculture, it's going to be a fun activity to go into. Some people have passion for these things, but funding to even get started is a problem. All right. So you don't necessarily have to, take the cutlass and weed or whatever, the grass or something like that. But you can simply be the brain, the entrepreneur with the brain, understanding the agriculture, business side of agriculture, and having people that go in and get a rewards. What's the pay working on somebody's farm versus coming here if you don't have any education? All right. So these are things we have to look at. Minimum wage at those places. Make it more attractive to not live your luxury of being in your home and coming to Kumasi or Accra and sleeping on the streets and stuff like that. Why can't you just stay home and just simply do the same thing that you're doing, but this time you'll be rewarded because it's a business venture? Because when we let it become a business, if it runs on profitability as a business, then the compensation for employees is also going to go with that. Because then it's question of demand and supply for labor. Because if somebody is out paying laborers working on their farm, like a day at $300, 300 Ghana cedi a day, and you decide to pay them cheap at 100 Ghana cedi a day, whose farm are they going to go into working? The 300 one.
Yeah.
Why is it 300? Because it's a business. So now there's a competition. So the labor price is going to be competitive. So naturally, we will solve the problem. Everybody will rather choose to go back to their hometown and work on the farm if they're not educated. If they're educated, they know they can source the funds. We have to educate people to know that the funds are available.
So basically, we have to make it attractive.
We have to make it attractive.
Because there is a mindset that agriculture is for the non-educated.
And there is for the old. No, it is for the young, because it has to be treated as any other business. That's why in United States, if you're in agriculture, the kind of benefits that you get is even unbelievable. It makes it more attractive for the citizens are the ones doing agriculture. It's the whites that have the agricultural farms. They don't do all the other jobs that we are doing. He rather stays on his family farm, they call it the ranch, and he will grow the plants and rear the animals. And then the government has all kinds of support for him. Funding, unbelievable. So now, why would he go to the city? He stays on that farm, does everything there. And as a strategy, they build markets. Everything like you have in the city is there. As a strategy, a small area, but you're going to see that they're not lacking anything. So it's a strategic investment that the government must take to make it attractive. That is even going to be competitive for you to have an agriculture, because you know that's where all the support is. Whether it's the research, the tools, the equipment. All right, all of that has to be a strategic investment.
Prof, the questions are coming in. Let's take some questions. Anis Emiari says that the opposition NPP blames the government for pumping billions of dollars into the banking system. That is why the CD is appreciating. And are they on point, or they just making a baseless accusation and doesn't make? I think Prof has explained that that it is a good initiative by the government using the forest revenue to stabilize the CD. Anis Emiari also said when the city began to appreciate, the opposition said the government is doing nothing. they are not spending, and all sorts claims. So what has changed now? We do not have a credible opposition. Prof, with regards to what he said here that the government is not spending, what is your comment on it? Has the government of Ghana began the new administration? Have they begun spending, or they are still in the process of trying to handle things and stabilize things?
They stabilize, so they're gonna begin spending. The infrastructure one is the biggest one that we have. Yes, they didn't spend in the first few months that it came on up to the end of this year. Now they're opening up. They started paying salaries because at the time they didn't even pay the wage bill. They have huge wage bill. They're just beginning to settle everybody. Contracts are being paid now. So everything is opening up, but that's just how you run it. You have to stabilize. You don't know the condition of something. Why would you just go and spend on things you haven't analyzed?
Yeah.
Because you cannot solve a problem you haven't diagnosed. So it's not fair to anyone saying that they're not spending when they don't even know what problems they're dealing with. It's like going to a doctor. Do you simply go to the doctor without talking to you and analyzing your condition or taking your vitals?
No, they're gonna run diagnosis.
They're gonna run the vitals.
Yeah.
So they're taking the temperatures and the vitals of the economy. And the next phase, which I believe in 2026, you're going to see the real economy where they have to spend. And that's where the true picture of the growth is going to show. So that's what we're saying. So I know sometimes politics is not fair in terms of how you have to find something to say about your opposition. So let's understand that. So when they're doing politics, let's just leave them alone. They have to say something. If NDC was in their shoes, they would say the same thing. So I don't want to go on the politics side of things because it's just the way it works. So, but it's not fair to say that they weren't spending, but they have to hold things down until they understand what we're dealing with and how we're going to solve all these issues, right?
Yeah, they're like pressure groups.
Professor,
to wrap up the show, I think we are running out of time. Our final question is entrepreneurship a solution or a survival strategy?
Right now, it's supposed to do both. For a Ghanaian, in the condition that we find ourselves right now, it's a survival tool because there is no other way for you to get something in your pocket unless you try to sell something. So entrepreneurship is a good skill to have, which is what I would feel a Ghanaian student, whether secondary or high school and university, should have some business mindset in order to survive this economy, right? So the entrepreneurship spirit needs to come out, and Ghanaians have shown it. That's why 80% is in the informal sector.
Yeah.
So we've shown that it's a necessary skill to have. All right, because even my son, who is 15 years, started selling candies in high school, and I was impressed. I said, "Okay, this guy understands business already.
Yeah.
He knows how to turn something from a penny to $1.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. So I think every child should have that dream. Why is he looking at that? Is because he's seen us doing it at a larger scale. So he said, okay, if this is how my parents are making money, I'm also going to try to do something. So he goes to the store, buys some candy, what you guys call toffee, and then he goes to the school and try to sell it. Even though I didn't encourage it, but I was excited. But I have to caution because I need his time spent on education rather than selling stuff.
Yeah.
But it tells you the entrepreneurial spirit of our nature. So it's a survival skill for now. All right. And it's what we need when our skills are utilized at a higher level to grow the economy. Because if 80% of our employment is in that sector, then we must pay attention to that.
Do something about it. Yeah, Professor, thank you very much. It's been a really insightful and educative show so far. And today's episode is actually quite special because Prof is here with us in studio. And we also thank you guys too for your comments and your contribution. Jamal Adam in Italy and Anas Emiyadi in also United States. Thank you very much for your time and thank you for watching. Prof, what is your final submission? What is your final message to the government as we head into 2026?
I just wish them well, and I'm praying that they will not take their eyes off the ball, and I will encourage them to do, continue doing what they're doing and even do it better.
Yeah.
In terms of, creating value addition opportunities that would translate the real economic growth into job creation. So that is my hope and expectation. I wish them all the best. So we shouldn't just rest on our laurels and think that we've done, something. Yes, we've turned the corner, but we yet to hit the grounds running. So I'm just hoping and praying that they will continue and not rest on their shoulders, and that we'll keep pushing and translate all these gains into significant growth so we can have a better Ghana.
Thank you very much. Dear cherished viewers, until next week, I'm your host Yusuf Adam, and we wrap up the end of our show today. We held discussions on jobless recovery, and our core question was: are we stabilizing numbers or we stabilizing lives? Professor have shared with us really insightful and discussion as really in relation to how we can manage things and how we can actually weather the storm. So until next week, join us next week Monday next week Tuesday on the Economic Forum show. I would say it is bye for now.
Thank you.